Hello and welcome to another Steps of Sussex live chat. As always, this is a live chat, so I will be trying to read and answer as many viewer comments and questions as I possibly can. Right, I'm just going to go straight to the live chat video and see who is dropping in. People should start to drop in a moment. Now, it's been a few days since I've been able to come on and do a live chat. Just on the point of Finding Freedom, I am reading it very, very slowly, but I am getting through it. And my next review is going to be on chapters 3 and 4. So chapters 3 and 4 are going to be called Courtship in the Wild and The World Gets Wind. So that is what I'm going to be reviewing next when I do a Finding Freedom review. So I'll probably do that tomorrow at some point. But today, the purpose of this live chat is to catch up on all of the Harry and Meghan related stories that have been going on over the last few days. There's been a few video messages and talks and all the rest of it. So that's what we're going to catch up on today. And because I've been very busy today, I thought I would just have a cup of tea. So I just want to have a cup of tea with you guys and just discuss things. So we'll go through all the stories in just a moment. So but before that, I want to say hello to everyone, and I want to say, how are you? So let me know in the comments if you're live, or in the comments if you're watching on catch up. How are you? Let me know. I can see Alicia, Maureen, Lauren, Tisha, and Elise in the room already. So do excuse me if I take the odd sip. Right. Which story shall we start with first? I think what I'm going to start with first, I've got some computer notes written out. So the first story I'm going to talk about is from August the 10th, and it's about Prince Harry speaking out about racial injustice. And he said, as part of the conversation, that every single person should speak out against racial injustice. He discussed how the world needs to move forward amid the Black Lives Matter movement. So, Prince Harry is speaking out against racism. The Duke of Sussex recently participated in a virtual discussion with the President of Colour of Change, Rashad Robinson, I should say, speaking on how to be a true ally in the Black Lives Matter movement, how to combat systemic racism, and how to eliminate online hate. Harry admitted during their conversation that even though different charity organisations and outlets do support important black resistance causes, they don't ultimately help change the larger problems at hand when it comes to racism around the world. And of course, it's important to remember that it's a global issue. So Harry said as part of the conversation, and I quote, "There's so much that has happened for so long that once those problems exist, charity is crucial in so many areas, but it can't fix the problem. The problems already exist by that point. The problems are already too big. We have to go to the root of the problem, to the source of the problem, and actually fix it there. It's going to take every single one of us. This is not down to the black community. This is down to every single person who is on the planet right now." Crediting the younger generation with truly embracing the core values of activism and not backing down on their demands for change. He said, "Now is the time to act rather than just say," he concluded. "You can't just say, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. You've said it, now you've got to follow through with it." And I think that is resonating, I think, with a lot of people. It's not just about talking the talk, it's about walking the walk as well. Colour of Change is just one of multiple organisations that Harry and Meghan have begun to work with amid the Black Lives Matter movement. The Sussexes also sat down with the president of NAACP following the tragic murder of George Floyd. And Meghan also addressed the ongoing movement in the virtual graduation address to the Immaculate Heart High School, which I'm sure you've all seen now. Just bear with me a moment, because there's something that I want to get, and I can't remember which channel it was that I showed this on. I think it was this channel here, but one of the things that I said that I was going to do for myself personally, and I think this again might resonate with a lot of people, is to educate yourself where you realize that you may have a gap in your knowledge, because everyone's experiences are different. I think we all have a personal responsibility to educate ourselves. And one of the things that I said about 6 weeks ago now was that I wanted to learn and do all that I could, and I wanted to use my platform, my multiple platforms, to be able to further the Black Lives Matter cause and movement in whatever direction is going to be helpful. But I recognised that there are gaps in my own knowledge, and you might recognise that in yourself as well. So I've been kind of searching for something that I think is going to help me, and the reason why I'm going to share this is because it also might help you as well. So I found this really good book. I haven't started reading it yet because I'm still reading Finding Freedom, but this is next on my list to read. So in a kind of unofficial Steps of Sussex book club, if you're not reading Finding Freedom, read that, and of course when you're finished, this is also going to be a really good read. And I just think it's important to understand that things are different in different countries as well. So this is very much targeted Black and British. So a forgotten history. Groundbreaking, says the Observer. It was also turned into a BBC programme, which I haven't watched, so I'm also looking forward to watching that once I've read this as well. It's by David Alasoga, and it actually won the Penn Hessel Tiltman Prize. One of the things that I didn't read when I showed it the last time was the back of it. So it says, in Black and British, David Olusoga tells the rich and revealing story of the long relationship between the British Isles and the people of Africa and the Caribbean. And that bit kind of grabbed me straight away. It's a story that reaches back to Roman Britain, to Elizabethan blackamoors, and that's in quotation marks, and the global slave trading empire. Black Britons fought at Trafalgar and in the trenches of both world wars, while the great industrial boom of the 19th century was built on American slavery. Black British history is woven into the cultural and economic histories of the nation. It is not a singular history, but one that belongs to all. And I just thought that this is going to be a really compelling and wonderful read. So if you haven't read this as well, I mean, also it puts into context in Britain as well. So this is what I'm going to be reading as part of my own self-education. So I just thought I would share that right here, right now. Tisha says, well said, thank you. Tisha says, I like that the unofficial Steps of Sussex... I'll talk again. I need some tea. Steps of Sussex Book Club, yes. And of course, if ever I find a book that I'm finding useful or helpful, I will share with you guys. And if you know of any as well, then of course you can share with me. Hello to everyone who is finally making it to a live chat. We have 76 watching at the moment live. I'm just moving my coaster so I don't spill anything. So there we go. I just thought, myself sharing about this book fitted in really, really nicely with what Prince Harry was saying as well. So that's why I chose to share that. Moving on now, I have just watched the section that Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, contributed to for the 19th. Now, if you didn't know, the 19th is a relatively new news organisation that focuses on women and empowerment, but also its fundamentals are in true news. It's not about sensationalist news. So I just want to read again a few notes about this. So this is from, of course, the 14th of August. So it's all about Meghan opening up. She spoke about moving back to the US and the need for more honest, compassionate journalism. She also described in there about clickbait and headlines as she interviewed the founder of the non-profit news organisation, The 19th. So Meghan's role here was to do the interviewing of the creator of The 19th. However, the tables did get a little bit turned, and sometimes it kind of felt like Meghan was the one being interviewed. But regardless of that, it was a really, really good interview, and that section of I mean, by the way, this conversation was much of a bigger thing. I think it was about 2 hours. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did watch the portion with Meghan. So if you want to watch the wider whole talk, that is there to watch. Anyway, after living in Canada and the UK for 10 years, and we have to remember that Meghan has spent 10 years outside of the US, the Duchess of Sussex says it's good to be home in the United States. The Duchess joined a discussion on race and gender issues in the media with founder of a new non-profit news organisation focused on gender equality, reversing the roles. Meghan interviewed journalist, co-founder and CEO of the 19th, Emily Ramshaw, to close out a week-long virtual summit featuring conversations with women from the worlds of public policy and leadership. Despite finally moving back to her home country, Meghan admitted that returning to California at the time of racial unrest following the tragic deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and countless more had been difficult. To come back and just see this state of affairs, she said, I think at the onset, if I'm being honest, it was just devastating. It was so sad to see where our country was in that moment. If there's any silver lining in that, I would say that in the weeks after the murder of George Floyd, in the peaceful protests that you were seeing, in the voices that were coming out, in the way that people were actually owning their role, it shifted from sadness to a feeling of absolute inspiration, because I can see that the tide is turning. Reflecting on the need for change and the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, Meghan said, from my standpoint, it's not new to see this undercurrent of racism, and certainly unconscious bias. But I think to see the changes that are being made right now is something I look forward to being a part of, and being part of using my voice in a way that I haven't been able to of late. So yeah, it's good to be home. So obviously, Meghan is referencing how I think she sees her role and being able to use her voice going forward in the future. But she also, I think, referenced, and I refer again to the title of the book, Finding Freedom, because she said, being able to use my voice in a way that I haven't been able to of late. She's referring to the confines of being a senior working member of the royal family, where certain things are considered that you can't talk about. So I think Meghan feels that maybe this is one indication that maybe she has found that freedom, because she's being able to use her voice in a way that she hasn't been able to over the past 3 years. Now, Meghan, we do believe, was speaking from their new home in Santa Barbara, and we all think it's Montecito where they are staying. That has been revealed by several different journalists, although they haven't given the exact location of the house yet, which I thought they would have done by now, because they definitely know where it is. They've posted photographs of the outside of the house. But as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen any internal photographs or sales particulars being posted online at this point, although I'm sure perhaps that will come at some point. Let me just sip. But I myself have seen what this house is, and I have seen the internal photographs of the house. I actually found it when I did some research, and of course I matched up the outside photo to the sales particular of one listing. So I've definitely got the right house. I know the name of the house. I've seen the internal photographs, and wow, what a house it is! It is a really, really stunning. Well, it's not just a house. It's a mansion. It really is truly stunning and amazing. Now, of course, I'm not going to share those photographs that I have seen, And in fact, the link that I saw them on has actually been removed since all of this has come to light that they've moved, since the certain news publications have published pictures of the outside. These listings have actually mysteriously vanished. So that kind of confirms that it is most definitely that home. So I have seen the internal pictures, and it's wow, it's a really, really stunning house. And we did obviously get a glimpse, I think, into the background by Meghan's interview, or rather Meghan interviewing the CEO and founder. So we saw a beautiful kind of wing armback chair, wooden windows, paneling. We saw a beautiful orchid in the background. Looks very classic. And lovely. Let's just see what people are saying. Lauren says, I love your cups. Sorry, but random. Thank you. I love my cups too. Right, let's continue. So, she spoke to Ramshaw, a fellow Northwestern graduate. Yes, when I watched it, she did make a point of commenting that she had also graduated from Northwestern like Meghan had. So she spoke about the importance of honest journalism and launching the 19th, a non-profit bipartisan newsroom during a pandemic. You just took that jump and you took that leap of faith, Meghan said. And I think there's so much we can all learn from that in those moments where it might feel scary, you just need to trust your gut. I'm also really aware that in the media landscape at the moment, having women's voices be able to be part of that storytelling is so key. Reflecting on the impact of a patriarchal media can have, the Duchess pointed out that the word suffragette, yes, there was a big conversation. Meghan had been reading an article where they were talking about the word suffragette, which describes a woman who organised for the right to vote. It was originally coined as a term of belittlement by a British newspaper in 1906. Meghan said, what I found so fascinating is that this was before digital media and before the online space and before things could travel around the world with rapid fire. She said, the American women, as part of the suffrage movement, didn't want to be called suffragettes, and yet this term coined by one man in 1906 has stuck as part of a movement. And I think when you look at that through that lens, at the power of one person's influence in the media to be able to shape an entire movement or way of thinking or even an ideology or an identification, if women had their voice as equally, how different that would have been. Meghan said that the issue lives on through monetizable content in the media and is why many news organisations need to be transformed. My husband and I talk about it often, this economy for attention, she said. If you're just trying to grab someone's attention and keep it, you're going for something salacious instead of something truthful. I think that once we can get back to a place where people are just telling the truth in their reporting and telling it through a compassionate or emphatic lens, it's going to help bind people as a community. And again, I think that is most definitely so true. It is all about, binding people back together and being honest. I mean, how many people want to know untruthful news? I think one of the reasons why we turned to news in the beginning is because we want to know exactly what is happening. But even here on YouTube, on the platform of YouTube, there are so many, people, channels, talking, just putting out complete and utter nonsense. And those are the people, the negative voices, that are getting all of the attention. She said, I think that once we can get back to the place where people are just telling the truth in their reporting and telling it through a compassionate or emphatic lens, it's going to help bind people. Yes, I've just read that, but I kind of skipped. The 19th, whose staff is 90% women, is named after the amendment that allowed some women to vote in the US. The asterisk, if you didn't know, represents the work that is still needed to be done to ensure that equality for marginalised people, such as women of colour and trans women, is going to happen. Meghan, who revealed that she recently spoke to legend and feminist icon Gloria Steinem about voting, said the importance of women using their voices through their ballots is needed more than ever. She said, "When I have these conversations about encouraging people to go out and vote, I think it's often challenging for men and women alike, and certainly for people to remember just how hard it was to get the right to vote and to be really aware of not taking that for granted. Yes, if you are not registered to vote, register now." She said, "I look at my husband, Prince Harry, for example. He's never been able to vote, and I think it's such an interesting thing to say. The right to vote is not a privilege, but it's a right." Yes. Now, I would like to say on that point, definitely members of the royal family, do not typically vote in elections because obviously elections are political, and it wouldn't be seen to be something. It wouldn't be seen to be right to be favouring a particular political party. So, within the institution of monarchy, members of the royal family typically do not vote when it comes to elections of who is going to be in control and running the country. So now that Harry has stepped back from being a senior member of the working royal family, it's unclear really whether or not he will vote in any future British elections for the first time. Again, going back to the book of Finding Freedom, that could be another aspect of how freedom is going to manifest itself in being able to vote, which I think is very important for many, many people. And there we go. I just think that was a really, really important conversation. I was reading as well, people typing in real time, saying how important that conversation was to have. People saying they love the idea of a book club. Thank you so much. By the way, we have 105 people watching currently at the moment. Stephanie says, "Look at the speech that Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's husband, did on anti-slavery for real historical perspective." Yes, he didn't like slavery at all, and he did make important speeches. But yes, I haven't actually read that speech in full, but I know that he had very, very forward-thinking views. Welcome to Sussex Steppers, Dawn Abdul Albari, who has just joined as a channel member here on Steps of Sussex. So thank you so much for joining. Your support means the world. Also, thank you so much to everyone who supports me on Patreon as well. Dawn says, "Glad to see you covering this. She did so well. She said it's good to be home." She did. "I love her. We need her proactive examples in the world as a Californian woman. This is how we see ourselves." Yeah. And I think, it's important to remember that, wherever we come from, it's always, I think, in our hearts. It's always our home. Although we may live in different places, we may travel the world, always, I think the place where you have come from is the place where you will always have an affinity for. You may not always live in that place. You may go back from time to time, or you may never go back. But I think there's a certain part of you that always is in that place where you have come from. I watched a program just a few weeks ago called Gardener's World here in the UK. It's a very long-standing gardening program, and there was a lady on there, and by the way, people can send in at the moment because of COVID their own little films about how they've been doing their garden. And one lady who lived in central Wales, she actually came to the country, to Britain, from, I think it was Jamaica, in the 1970s, and she had tried to recreate a Caribbean garden here in the UK, in Wales, and she'd done an amazing job. She'd chosen all these plants that had foliage that reminded her of her childhood. I think her name was Dolly, and she'd raised her family here in the UK. And one of the things that she really wanted to feel was was a sense of home. Like, even though she lived here, she felt like, you know, her home, her childhood memories were from Jamaica in the Caribbean, and she created this fabulous, you know, Caribbean-inspired garden here in the UK, and it really was truly stunning. So yes, I think, you know, home is a very important thing to have in our minds. Right, I'm going to move on to the next story because there's quite a few stories happen. So Prince Harry has appeared in a Netflix documentary highlighting Paralympic athletes. So, as we know, Harry founded the Invictus Games. So Paralympic, you know, sports and disabled athletes having a place in the world of sport has always been very important for Harry. Now, Harry obviously focuses his work with wounded members of the military and obviously former veterans. So Harry appeared in the trailer for a new Netflix documentary called Rising Phoenix. If you haven't seen the trailer, it's the trailer is up on YouTube, and obviously it will be on Netflix too. He was included to highlight, of course, the important cause. And like I said, he appeared in the Netflix upcoming documentary Rising Phoenix, which shines a light on the history and impact of the Paralympic Games, as well as the athletes who participate in them. By the way, it's going to be released on August the 26th and focuses on a number of Paralympic competitors from around the world as they discuss their personal journeys and the importance of keeping the tournament alive, especially after it faced the threat of cancellation due to lack of funds. Now, I did watch the trailer, and although Harry is only in there briefly, it's most definitely worth a watch. And I do think that this is, again, a really important cause, and I think it would be a really good documentary to watch. So, whilst the stars of Rising Phoenix are the athletes themselves, such as Tatiana McFadden of the US. She's a Paralympic. She is a Paralympian and competitor. I think it's pronounced QZ, a powerlifter from China, who is a parasport supporter, also appears to comments such as members of the International Paralympic Committee and the Duke of Sussex, who founded the Invictus Games. He said there isn't anything else in the world that can bring you back from the darkest places than sport. And of course, you know, he has seen how the Invictus Games has inspired former veterans and military service personnel to transform their lives when they come back from serving, and, you know, they have some kind of disability, illness, mental illness, and it really empowers people to do amazing things post service. As we know, Harry established the Invictus Games in 2014, and it is a competition of sport between injured and recovering soldiers from countries all around the world. Harry is a patron of the Invictus Games Foundation and has attended every iteration of the competition, and usually delivers an address at the opening ceremonies. And it's so sad that this could not take place this year. A spokesperson for the Duke of Sussex said in a statement, "The Duke is proud to have been one of the people who contributed to this film, which is a unique and powerful documentary that hopes to change the way people view disability and tell the incredible story of the Paralympics." And as I said, you can watch Rising Phoenix on Netflix starting August the 26th. So that will be really good. Tisha says, "Home is where your heart is." Yes, I think I completely, totally agree with that. Mercury Angel says Invictus Games are important to support those who put their lives on the line. It is great to see these athletes. Great job, Harry. KTF says, "As a big fan, I got upset when I saw the clip. You know what I'm talking about. I reach a hand out to you with compassion and admiration that you're doing some reading, and I am doing the same." Yes, and like I said, this book is going to be, I think, a really big eye-opener. And I think, there's going to be a lot of learning done. Kate says it was a rough time to return to America, never mind as a black person. And Kate says it's been very heavy and intense here in the US, and Meghan is a bright spot, as is Harry. Certainly a very difficult time to come back to, and also, with the elections looming as well, a very important time, I think, in the US. Right, moving on. We've spoken a little bit about the Invictus Games, but today, August the 15th, Harry has joined an Invictus Games Zoom call from, and it says, his new Montecito home. Harry, it says, might have moved to the US, but he's still very much involved in the Invictus Games. Joining a Zoom call from his new Montecito home, Harry spoke with a group of former Invictus Games competitors who have been taking part at the at-home superhero try. Now, it's very important, obviously, with the Invictus Games not taking place, that, these athletes still have a focus. So, the at-home superhero try was perfect for that, because these competitors can still be active and they can still have an aim, which is really, really good. So, if I share the link to this article, you will be able to go and see the full 10-minute interview. So I'll drop this in the live chat here. So if you follow that, it will take you to the article that I'm reading from, and then it will take you on where you can watch the full video. So during the video call, Harry spoke with Jen Warren from the UK, Bruno from Canada, and Mark from Australia, and team captain JJ Chalmers, who is from the Invictus Games Foundation YouTube channel. The team recently took part in a virtual triathlon with a self-set target of 20 kilometres. Wow. So when Harry joined the call, Chalmers joked, "I tried to book Captain America, but I managed to get Captain Wales instead." The Duke of Sussex dryly retorted, "The banter certainly hasn't improved in the last few months, that's for sure." So they had a bit of a laugh, and obviously spoke about some very important issues, and you can go and you can watch that as well. So Harry discussed the at-home challenge with the team and said, "With lockdown and everything else that's been going on, The Hague had been postponed as well. Surely this was an amazing opportunity for you guys to come together, not only to do the physical side, which is improving your mental fitness, but to be together as a team doing something like this and having a goal and a purpose, and to some extent a distraction from the day-to-day life." And yeah, I think I highly recommend watching that interview, that Zoom call with Prince Harry. Stephanie says, after reading Finding Freedom, "I am truly grateful for guidance on all things royal. Thanks for the balance. It's been rough." Yeah, and that's one of the things I think that I have been feeling as well with running a royal YouTube channel ever since 2015. I mean, I have been here ever since Meghan was first announced on the scene. I think it was Camilla Tominey who broke the story of Harry and Meghan dating. I have been here from day one. I have chronicled the entire existence of Harry and Meghan's relationship. I remember, as I said, sitting in my kitchen doing one of my early live chats and talking about this new girl that was on the scene that I didn't, I'd never watched Suits, so I didn't know about Meghan, and I was saying, oh, well, from what I've read, she seems a very interesting new lady in Harry's life, and that she seems very different to all the other girlfriends that's gone before. And ever since day one, I said that there's something different here. There's something different about Meghan, because she wasn't Harry's traditional type. He'd always previously gone for blondes and kind of very bohemian-y type British girls. And I thought, there's something different here about Meghan. So even when people were dismissing them as a couple way back in the very early days, in the early months of their relationship, I said, hang on a minute, I think there's something to watch here, because I sense something a little bit different, a little bit something special here. And if you go back to those early live chats, it's, my contribution to Harry and Meghan is on the record way back from the very early days. So I have seen the relationship progress, and I've seen how the media also turned on Harry and Meghan, and it's been a very tough 3 years in terms of, when the media suddenly kind of decided that they were going to turn, and everything got really bad. It's quite depressing to have to keep reading all of these stories, and yeah, it's been a very tough time. It really has. And it would be amazing if everyone could just talk about positive news, or even just tell the truth. I mean, it would be really amazing. And that's something that I have tried to do for a very long time, is to just do the facts. And unfortunately, Meghan was right in what she said. It's always the sensationalist stories, the clickbait stories that get all the views, and it's very frustrating when you're trying to just to stick to the facts, and you're trying to work things through. That it's those kind of channels and those kind of articles that get all of the clicks and the attention and the views. And when you think about it, it is very wrong that they do get all the attention and the clicks and all the rest of it. So yes, I have to say I kind of really agree with that whole cause. Right, I think that's all my stories done. And how long have I been on for? 36 minutes. So I think I've spoken at you and to you for far too long. Now, is there anything else on my list? No, I think I'm pretty much covered. I think we're all pretty much caught up. So Becky says, that is why we love your channels. Thank you so much. And Dorif says, Meghan looks beautiful and happy. She looked very fresh. She looked very glowing. Did I notice something slightly different with her hair? It was a little bit, it had a nice kind of bit of a wave to it. So yes, she looked very healthy and happy. Yes, those interviews still should be up there online. All the ones that I've just referenced, they were all kind of published by the charities and organisations that they were put out there by, which is why I have chosen not to put them out and republish them on the channel, because if you want to see for example, the Meghan's 19th interview, I think it's good that you actually go to their outlets to see it, because they're the ones that should, in a way, get the money from that interview, or rather Meghan interviewing the CEO. So that's why I've chosen not to do that. Also, I haven't chosen to republish Harry's Invictus Games, because obviously, they need the funding as well. So I've chosen not to republish them, but rather than to talk about them instead, and to highlight the work they do, and hopefully to drive people to those different interviews so that they can benefit from that. Now, I should say before I go that next week videos might be a little bit thin on the ground, because I'm doing something really exciting, which you will see probably across all of my different channels. There will be something next week put out across all of my different channels, and there will be something really specific to Steps of Sussex and Harry and Meghan, which I think you guys will absolutely love. I think you will flip a nut. So stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, then please do. I don't know whether I'm just going to do a live chat or pre-recorded things when this thing happens, but there is going to be something that you are going to really love. And I'm going to love too, I have to say. Tisha says, very well spoken. I enjoy every chat. Thank you so much. Louisa says, RN, thank you so much for checking on that. Yes, they are available. And if I can find the links to them, I'll put the links in the description once I've gone off live. So that's it for me for now. Oh, by the way, Mary says, do you think that the book will be used as evidence in the court case? I think the Mail organisation may try to bring it in. Maybe, but hey, we don't know whether what will be allowed or dismissed or whatever that might be. We'll have to wait and see. So yes, there's a few surprises coming next week that you may all be very happy to see. So if you've enjoyed this video and found it useful, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and also do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. Also, obviously subscribe to the channel. And also, in the coming weeks, this channel will also be, it will also get a bit of a refresh and a rebrand. I've been rebranding my Royal Reviewer channel, and this one will get the same treatment as soon as I've got enough time to be able to do it as well. I've been very, very busy. So, if you do want some Royal Reviewer merchandise, I have updated all the links to my merch store on that channel. There is a dedicated video. So, from me in Shropshire, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.